Hey folks, it's been a minute since I have ranted about anything, and I feel like I can't not rant about this on my YouTube channel before making any sort of like fun and frivolous, lighthearted content because I've just been so frustrated and angry with it. And I feel like I've seen a handful of people share the sentiment, and thankfully, if you follow me on Twitter, you might have seen my sentiment about this whole trial. I think the internet took a legitimate court case and made it into a meme circus that I find frankly gross and exploitative and just weird. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please exit the video. I don't want you to be burdened with any of this knowledge, to be honest, because every bit of information that I have gleaned about this case has been against my will, because I muted everything having to do with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard on Twitter. Everything having to do with that case, I muted, because I quickly saw the way that the internet started treating it, and I was like, nope, I am done with this. And now that the trial is done, for the most part, the jury is deliberated, I know very little about this, and frankly don't want to know more in the comments, because my general point of this video is how weird the internet has reacted to this and how gross it feels. I think the first piece of content I saw about it was a YouTube video, and then people started talking about it on Twitter, and then I started seeing stuff on TikTok. I recently got a TikTok. Mostly what I see and like is dog videos, but I would see some of this stuff and I'm like, wait, what's happening? I had no clue that this was happening before it was happening. So as soon as it started being televised, I was like, oh, okay, this is the internet's thing that they're going to pay attention to for right now. And for right now turned into 6 weeks. I was thinking a lot recently about how social media and meme culture have turned things like true crime or legal cases, anything having to do with more sensitive or intense topics, how meme culture and how the widespread algorithm has turned a lot of those topics into memes, into jokes, into things that are just generally kind of insensitive. This most recent issue, this recent trial, dialed it up to 11. Dialed it up so high that any of the information I know is so biased in either direction, where I'm like, what? It's like a game of telephone. It's like people will watch the stream on one person's Twitch channel, and then they'll make a video about it, and then someone else will make a TikTok about it, and then other people will stitch the TikTok, and it just turns into a game of telephone. I found the way that a lot of content creators across the internet and the audience just in general treated it as very odd. It felt like they were talking about a crime drama on Netflix, or a season of Law and Order. I think I actually tweeted, I was like, people need to go get a hobby, just go watch Law and Order. Like, if you're that obsessed with this, if you're that invested in this, please go find another outlet for your energy, please. Because the kind of energy that people put into this was far beyond anything I have seen in a long time with anything similar, because of celebrity culture, because of stuff like stan culture. It turned what initially a lot of people were talking about as being a very important case for men who come forward about domestic violence. What a lot of people tried to say that was the important part and what people were focusing on, that turned into not that very quickly. That's when I kind of just like muted everything, clocked out, and I was like, okay, I don't want to know any of this. I feel like people are taking it to such a ridiculous degree where they're making their entire online presence about two other people's issues, and I find that very weird. I find that very kind of parasocial dystopian weirdness. It felt very Stan War when we're talking about a defamation case regarding domestic abuse. Like, this isn't your favorite K-pop bands against each other. This isn't your favorite prior Disney star turned movie star against each other. That's not what this is. These are two real people who are dealing with their own shit. The fact that it was televised does tell you that the public opinion and the masses seeing this was in their kind of part of their end game from the beginning. That's what people were talking about. They were talking about it like a media circus. From what I saw, so much of the content turned away from like the actual kind of issues at hand and the evidence brought forward, it turned away from that into, look at how wacky the lawyers are. Look at the absurdity of this courtroom. Which, granted, I totally understand, like, a kind of morbid fascination for absurdity. Like, I totally get that. But I feel like a lot of people like to use the argument of like, oh, humor is my coping mechanism. But I'm like, when you're coping for your own stuff, these are other people's lives. These are other people's trauma and other people's issues that they're working on, and that it's their lives. It's not yours. The quickness that I saw a lot of people from various corners of social media influencer content creatordom, with how fast that content rose to the top and rose to my recommendeds, rose to anything I was kind of scrolling through TikTok, tweets that were getting recommended. I was like, how did this go so quickly? Like, how did this blow up so fast? And then the algorithm just made it even more rampant. And I feel like a lot of people looked at that and looked at how quickly and how well that content and content about that was doing, and they took that and ran with it. That's bordering on exploiting the court case and exploiting the entire situation for their own gain, you know? Like, it just feels kind of icky. I feel like a lot of damage can be done when it comes to that stuff when people are posting content as things are in flux, rather than waiting for everything, for the dust to settle. Because I think there's definitely a way for people to report on this trial with, like, journalistic integrity and, like, actually report on it as, like, a journalist. But I feel like not a lot of people have done that, and they've taken the commentary route where, like, it's very different. Somebody writing an article, doing an investigation, somebody doing a story on the news. Granted, not all news people are trustworthy. We know this. Mainstream media folks have their own problems that, again, I could get into. But the motivation a lot of times with, at least with smaller news organizations, ones that aren't necessarily like CNN or MSNBC or Fox, smaller news organizations, the framing and the motivation behind doing a story about that, yes, point is to get people to talk about it, and the point is to get views, which is the same as people making content online. But I feel like that there's a personality that comes along a lot more when it comes to content creators online, because people are going to that channel for that person and for that person's personality. So rather than just going to something for the facts to know exactly what's happening, you're going because you specifically want to hear that person talk about and give their take on the situation. Regardless of if you agree with the verdict or not, I think the entire media circus around it, I feel like it did not serve the kind of purpose that people tried to make it out like it was going to be, like it was going to empower more men to come forward about domestic violence. Like, I think it quickly turned from that into who can get the clickbaitiest title, who's gonna have like the poll on TikTok. It was like use which emoji to vote for your side. I'm like, this isn't American Idol. This isn't a Stan Award. This isn't the MTV fucking Movie Awards. Like, why are we treating this like some sort of form of entertainment? It's odd. I remember like seeing court cases talked about on the news that were like pre-social media. So back from when I was a kid, that was already fucking wild, even before the implementation of the 24-hour news cycle. And then it got even worse after the 24-hour news cycle became a thing because people were trying to fill time. But now, with social media and with content creators in various forms, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, wherever, you have so many different sources of a story that are all going to be like slightly different because everybody has their own way of viewing this. And some people, I think, like, this isn't a blanket statement about everybody who's talked about this over the last 6 weeks, but some people talk about it in the way that you would talk about internet drama. And I think that's kind of weird when you're talking about like domestic violence and defamation. I don't know, I feel like drama and like drama culture in general has just like made people start using the term drama for things that are like way bigger than anything that should be just considered as drama. Like, no, let's stop using drama as like a blanket statement about things. I think because of this kind of like dramatization of all of it and memification, dramatization and memification of this entire real court case, it's pinned people against each other in a very odd way. again, like stan culture, but you've had people lose friendships. I've seen people just like lose people in their life because they disagree on who is right and wrong in this situation, where it's like, why are we investing so much time and energy to celebrities dealing with their own shit? The amount of content that has been made about it is too much. It's too much, and I feel like it has just turned the entire thing into a giant meme because of how quickly the attention went from bringing all the evidence forward and getting the real truth out there. How it quickly went from that to meme compilations of the most ridiculous things said in this court. Literally meme compilations of moments showed up on my recommended on YouTube, and I was like, are you fucking serious? With the same kind of music that you would see in like a silly meme comp where like every time Link spit out a food on Good Mythical Morning, it was like that kind of editing. It's a court case. Like people are dealing with dark shit. So fucking weird. The way that stan culture and the way that fans and fandoms look at celebrities and look at influencers, any sort of famous person, there's this dichotomy between looking at them as like your friend because of social media making it so much easier to communicate with them. Like people can respond directly to your TikTok, or they can like your tweet or like your Instagram comment. The dichotomy between feeling this false sense of closeness, aka the parasocial relationship, with a celebrity, paired with kind of removing their humanity entirely and looking at them like a character from a TV show. I feel like both of those things are happening at the same time, and I feel like that's a very dangerous combination because people just, they say whatever they want, and they say whatever to anybody, anytime, because they, on one hand, feel like that they're their friend and they can tell them anything. And on the other hand, look at them as their own source of just, here, I'm just going to spill out all this information at you and tell you whatever I think, because you're not reading those comments. You're not the one who's actually doing all of this. You're just the pretty face behind all of it. It's like, no, they're real people too. Real people are the ones being affected by this, but they're also not your bestie. I don't know if it's just me being like an old person, but the trend and the new thing that people call strangers on the internet being bestie feels very, I don't like it personally. Even if it's just internally, it makes people feel like they can just tell you whatever or just say whatever because they think they're your bestie. I don't know, I feel like I need to come up with another term. Brosif? Now I'm just thinking of phrases from I Love You Man. Slap a da bass. I hope this was coherent. I hope this made sense. I feel like this is one of those instances where I'm like, that's enough internet for today. Like I'm so tired of hearing about it. It's like people were talking about it constantly. Uploading content, live streaming things, tweeting about it, live tweeting it. I think what happened with a lot of people is that they weren't necessarily just watching the trial. They were watching a Twitch streamer who was streaming the trial and giving their 2 cents all the time, or somebody who made a YouTube video or a compilation where they were cut stuff down. Like the information and the raw information just got boiled down more and more, that you weren't having the majority of people consuming the content getting the full picture anyway, when I thought the whole point was that like all of the facts and all of the evidence was presented. I don't think it should have been broadcast, personally. I feel like that was, again, a very strategic move on wanting to get in the good graces and the court of public opinion. I really wish that they didn't televise these things, because it also made it very difficult for the jury from what I have seen, because I saw that they weren't sequestered, which I think is really fucked, because I thought the whole point about being a jury member was that you weren't being swayed by public opinion. Like, I've never been on jury duty, but both my parents have, and I thought the point was that, like, you're not getting fed and bombarded with information about this on a day-to-day basis when you go home not being sequestered. That's not me, like, saying the jury was wrong or right. I'm just saying that because of the way that the information around this was all treated, the internet just exploded with information that weren't always coming from the most reputable sources. Sometimes the internet disappoints me, and this is one of those times, just in the oversaturation of content about it, when, you know, there was a lot of shit that happened in the last month and a half that maybe could have used some of that space in the news cycle and on the trending topics and in people's feeds. Like, I don't know, maybe like any of the laws and the rights that have been taken away from people, or like anything that was just like affecting the country as a whole, you know? I feel like it was just a lot of noise. Like 24-hour news cycle media circus bullshit was bad enough before social media, and now it has turned it into, what's bigger than a circus? I don't know, fucking Jurassic Park? It's made it a bigger monster. And I think this is a perfect example of when the internet can just go a bit too far in the realm of dark humor and memification of literally everything, because life sucks, you know? If anything about this trial and anything about this last month and a half has been triggering for you, I am so sorry that you had to sit through this and just watch the internet turn this into meme fodder. I'm so sorry. That's just what I kept thinking. I was like, anybody watching this who like may have felt empowered by anything is just watching it turn into what it did and feel gross about it. Like biting their nails and eating their popcorn, watching the fucking trial all day, when it's like, those are other people's lives. Like dealing with real trauma and violence. Like, why are we watching this like an episode of Criminal Minds? That's fucking weird. Like, that's genuinely concerning. Yeah, no song of the day today. I really just wanted to rant and get my thoughts out, because I had seen a handful of people have similar feelings, and I feel like that not as many people have been vocal and open about thinking that this is very weird. At least not on YouTube. A lot of people on Twitter, though. I'm very thankful that people have responded positively when I've said stuff about it on Twitter, because I was like, this is weird, right? That's not just me. Like, that's weird. Because anytime I would see the comments in people's content about it, all the comments were like super positive and like eating it up. And I'm like, how are there no comments of people being like, hey, don't? I just found that very odd that the people who were making all of the content about it were constantly being like encouraged to make more. Like, please just go watch Criminal Minds. And I know that some people are going to be like, oh, well, you said that they're exploiting. It's more kind of in general. This was just kind of the catalyst of me making the video. But the general topic of people taking stan culture to a new, I would say, level, like a new low, that's been brewing in my brain for a while. And this was just kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back as far as me just actually like making a video about it. Because before now I was like, I don't really have like a real world situation to kind of explain it a little bit better, explain all my thoughts. But this is a real world situation where I was able to explain my thoughts a little bit better. Yeah, that's the video. If you would like to subscribe to this channel and see more content from me, subscribe down below. And then I do also have Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and TikTok. If you would like to follow me on any of my social media, Instagram and Twitter are Abers07, Twitch and TikTok are Abers without the 07. Thank you for watching, everyone. Like I said, there's no song of the day, but I do always have the playlist of songs of the day in all of my video descriptions. So if you're ever wanting to just like know what kind of songs I'm listening to, like there's always that down there. I just didn't feel super inspired to mention and hype a song at the end of this, because this didn't feel like a very hype video, because I was just generally annoyed at the world. I hope if you were feeling similarly that this at least gave you something to be like, oh, I'm not like alone in my frustration, because there was a while where I'm like, is everybody obsessed with this court case? Thank you so much for watching. I will be streaming on Twitch tomorrow night at about 8 o'clock, give or take. But Saturdays at 8 are generally when I stream, and then Thursdays at about 6:37. We talk about current event things sometimes at the beginning of those streams while I'm doing my makeup, and then usually I play The Sims for a couple hours. Thanks, everyone. Have a good rest of your weekend. It is Friday. You made it to the end of the week. Congratulations. Drink some water, get some sleep, take care of yourself. yourselves, and I will see you all next week. Bye.